Hi, I'm Matt Vickery, and this is the first episode of Flying Bees TV. You might recognize this place, and you should, because we're in the Vatican City. It's the Sistine Chapel. Look at the ceiling, it's crazy, but I'm not that impressed. Here's the point, I'm here to teach you how to paint some walls. So today, not only am I going to take you over taping off baseboards, and then after that, I'm going to teach you how to cut in walls, freehand, not so much like an amateur would do, but more like a pro would do. So this is kind of more of a video for pros, but if you're an amateur, feel free to watch. I'm going to show you how to cut in those walls, freehand, and then I'm going to show you how to do a back-caulk line. This is great for situations where it's not a 90-degree angle. Most of the time, if your wall meets your ceiling at a 90-degree angle, you can cut it in fairly easily if you're a pro. But if you run into a situation where it's a circular kind of curve, where the wall meets the ceiling at a curve, or it bends under, and the walls are textured, you're going to have to use a back-caulk technique. This is where you use caulking with your tape, with the paint, to create the lines so there's no seepage through the textured gaps. I'm going to teach you how to do that. Then after that, I'm going to teach you how to do accent walls. Yep, I'm going to teach you how to freehand accent walls, like a pro. And then I'm going to teach you how to roll walls to where you cover in like one pass. It's basically 2 or 3 coats at once, done the right way with the right product, the right tools, and the right technique. To start things off though, we're going to go back to Matt, manual labor Matt, there in Texas, and he's going to show you how to tape off baseboards. Take it, Matt! Okay, so when you're taping off, one of the main things you want to do is you start in a corner, wherever you're starting, you're going to tear an angle like so. So it kind of creates kind of a diagonal tear. And you're going to notice here how I went a little bit up over onto the wall with the white whenever I painted the baseboards. That's for a reason. That's because my tape is actually going to go like a millimeter up onto the wall. This prevents the paint from seeping down through the texture onto the baseboard, so you still get a sharp line. I don't know why this works, but it works. I don't know the physics behind it, but so if you see what I'm doing here, I'm gonna go a tiny bit up on the wall. You probably can't even tell, but it's just it's a tiny little ledge where it's running up onto the wall just a little bit. And I'm only pressing the edge because I don't want to press the whole piece of tape down because I don't want it to pull up that new paint. So I just want that edge to be sticking and nothing else. So that's actually perfect right there. When I get to this corner, I just use my hand. I put my thumbnail right where that corner is going to be, so I'll know right where to tear. See, just like that. I'm going to tear that corner, and then look, it'll go right where it needs to go. Boom. Perfect, right into the corner. See that? Sew that line. There you go, it's good to go. Now we got taping off done. Baseboards are all taped off. It's time to paint these walls. So first thing you need to remember is the PTT. That's product, tools, technique. Without any one of those 3 things, you cannot achieve coverage in one pass the way I do. There's a good reason that good painters want to know how to cover in one pass and not have to do 2 full, actual, typical coats that your average DIY would think that you need to do. You don't have to do that, unless maybe you're using red or blue, or you're painting over oil walls. Someone messed up and used oil on some walls or something, or semi-gloss. Sometimes it'll smear, and so you have to do one light coat and then a heavier coat afterwards. It's kind of laying a light coat for like tacking up. But 99% of the time, you put it on, it's gonna cover, but you have to have the proper things. So first of all, product. This is Promar 200 Zero VOC. It comes from Sherwin-Williams. Has zero VOC, so there's no odor, it's not toxic. That's a great part about it. It's a latex interior paint. It covers great. It costs the exact same retail as Super Paint or Emerald, except if you're a contractor, you can only get it for cheaper. So, I mean, I get that for a lot cheaper than I get those, even though it's a better product according to just about every painter. Super Paint's too thick. This is nice to work with. It covers, and it's like a thinner on your brush, so you can get finer lines, but it still covers great. One thing that's good with the back rolling technique when you're rolling the walls is it's going to actually tack up faster because it dries so fast, so that as you're going, you can literally dip and then back roll back over the paint you just laid. So it's like doing 2 coats at once, but I'm gonna display it to you here in a second. I'm gonna show you these tools. It's the second thing. You got your product, so you wanna use superior product, and then tools. So this right here, this is a sheepskin roller nap. So these run a lot more expensive than your average rollers. Just this one roller nap is like $15. And you wanna have a good handle. This is a Purdy handle from Sherwin-Williams. This is also from Sherwin-Williams. So it's about $15. It's a little bit more than your average handle, or maybe 20, I don't know, something like that. But point is, if you use good tools, it'll cover better. This is great. I don't throw this away when I'm done. I can use this for maybe 10 or 12 more projects. You'll have a lot of paint companies and they'll think, oh, I'm just gonna buy these cheap tools and I'll throw out rollers after everything. They end up spending so much money getting new rollers for every project, when if you just buy a good one, you can clean it out and keep reusing it. Smart. Brush. Don't mess around. It's hard to cover if you have a little 2-inch brush. Don't use one of these. Don't use one of these. Use one of these bad boys. This is a 3-inch angled sash. These boys aren't cheap either. This will last you 6 months maybe. I mean, that's painting every day, 40 hours a week. This will last you 6 months. You just gotta clean it out. But it's a Purdy, and they run for about $25. So use superior tools, superior product, and then with the right technique, you get these jobs done really fast, and they look really good. Since we're gonna be doing an accent wall on this wall here, and all the other walls are gonna be a different color, you wanna choose which color you paint first, whether it be the other walls or the accent wall, by which one is darker and which one's lighter. So I know that the accent wall, in this case, the paint's gonna be darker than the other body walls. So I'm gonna actually do the other walls first, because you always wanna paint the darker color over the lighter color for obvious reasons. So I'll be saving this accent wall for last. So now we're gonna start cutting in these walls. Just gotta pour up some paint. So let me show you how you do this. First you gotta get your brush. You wanna always make sure you don't have any water inside your brush. See, right now it's really wet. That's what you wanna do. Kind of get my hands wet so they can grip the knob, but. Okay. So that gets all the water out. If there's water in your brush, what happens is as you're painting, it causes the paint to actually drip down your brush. And so it'll start getting all down onto your hands and all over your brush. You don't ever want paint to go over this spot right here. Like, paint goes down to here, it's about as far as you want it to go. Some people let it get all over and it's just a mess. So you want to be clean at the same time, but there's techniques to keep your brush clean as you're going, and I'll show you as I do that. So I've got this one here. Called Natural Linen. This is going to be our body color for all the other walls besides the accent. Ooh, see, that's what old paint looks like. A lot of people would look at that and think that it's bad, but it's not. Just needs a good shake. Now, since one of these gallons is old and one of them's new, I'm gonna put them into the rolling bucket together
and bucket grid. A lot of people like to use roller trays, like DIY customers. They like to use roller trays, but professionals use a bucket. And like I said, since these have kind of aged, I want to make sure it all matches from my cut in to my, oh my gosh, I got old paint. Let's have a wet rag on hand. Matter of fact, it's completely necessary. Okay, so now I'm gonna pour this guy in here too. And if you want to know a way to get all the paint out of there, you just like that. Fun little trick. So now I'm gonna mix this up some, see? Just so, they're the same color and the same product, but one of the gallons has been sitting in a garage for a year or two, and then the other one I bought yesterday, so just to make sure we have consistency. Mix them together. Okay, those are mixed, so I'm gonna pour into my cut bucket here. These are great cut buckets. They have little magnets on them that can hold your brush, which is nice. Make sure you don't put too much paint into your cut bucket. So now, you're gonna wanna put a wet rag over it. This will just keep it from drying on the top layer. You don't want a little skin of paint at the top once it comes time to roll. Okay. So first thing I like to do is saturate my brush. So that's how you saturate your brush. You dip it, you go different ways. I'm just working the paint into the bristles so that the brush is loaded with paint. This will prevent it from being streaky or leaving streaks. All right, that's good. All right, you ready for the magic? Here we go. So I like to go one way, and then you go back the other. This is all about how you angle your brush. There's a little bead of paint that goes right on the end of your bristles. You just got to control that. This little angle down here is going to be fun because this part of the wall comes to a little point. And that's how you do it, bros. Like so. Now underneath this ledge is white, so I got to be careful. I don't want my paint to seep over onto the ceiling, so I'm kind of going off the ledge here. You see that? Just keeps that paint from. So I got this one fine little point here. Oh, that's pretty. That's pretty. So now once you put it on, you also want to be cautious of your brush strokes. So after you're done, you're going to do a nice little stroke just to smooth it all out. Make it look good. So once you dip into your cut bucket, like this, here, let me show you. So you just go into about here, you come up and you tap once, twice, so boop, boop. But there's still quite a bit of paint on your brush. That's why when I come up, I don't go right into the line. You notice I go below it. What I'm doing is I'm taking off some of that paint so that it's not so thick, so it can allow me to do a fine line. Now I'm bringing it back. See, as I get closer with each time. And now I'm digging in that front part and then bringing this side back. And now I'm coming up to the line. And then we'll do the same thing, come back. And just like that. Okay, and then only do one under, like this, just to kind of fill it in. And then I turn the brush sideways. It's a flat brush. Finish her off. Most importantly, don't forget to breathe. It's extremely important that you breathe. So if you don't breathe, no breath, no life. And it just kind of helps you to concentrate a little better. Now don't get me wrong, if you're just a first timer, you're not gonna be able to do this. This takes years of practice to freehand, but for you painters out there, you know what's up. Boom. Just like that. And to get up into this corner here, so this is fun. In this little corner here, you can see it. But I'm gonna angle my brush just right to get up in, and I'm gonna give it a shake. And it shakes some of that paint off and gets it into the texture. Come back here the other way. And then now I'm gonna turn. Come down. And then back up. And you get right at that fine angle. There we go. Oh yeah. That's sharp. See how sharp that is? See, and then I go through and I do my brush strokes. Make sure everything's pretty and even. Boom, see how that looks? Ain't that cool? All right, well, we'll pick up cutting some more over here in a second. So this is what I was talking about right here. Do you see how this is a curve? It's not a 90-degree angle like this. See how this is a 90-degree angle where the wall meets the ceiling? Well, right here, the ceiling comes down and then it's like a curve where it meets the wall there. And so that's where I'm gonna have to do my back caulk line, and I'll show you how to do that in a second. But for now, we're gonna cut in this window real quick. So come down, same thing as when I was doing the ceiling. And then up. And see what's happening is, it's not that I have just like perfect line capability with my hand. What I'm doing is I'm letting the corner of the brush just kind of sit in the edge where the wall meets the window. Same thing when you're doing the ceiling. And then it creates its own good line. As long as you're taking the right amount off. So here in Texas, we have a lot of textured walls. It's one thing you have to be wary of. So I don't just start out painting like this. Notice I'm not just going flat brush on it from the beginning. The reason when I start out, look, I go like this down, see, because like this pushes more paint into the texture. So this will allow me to not have to go over it so many damn times. See, I'm doing it like that for the first couple. And then I'm kind of turning. So by the time I'm done, I am flat brushing. But all the paint has already been worked in. So that's the benefit. It also helps to be ambidextrous because I can use both hands. Look, Ma, both hands. You got that. Boom. Now I'll show you me doing it fast. Ready for this? Oh, see how sharp that is? See, that's the reason I went over a little bit with the white paint on the enamel for the trim, is so that I can cut my line into that. Because it's a lot easier to cut a wall into the trim than it is to cut the trim into the wall. So we're all about doing things easy, right? Exactly. Boom, it's covered. All right, so that's most of cutting in, and then I'll get back with you to do that back caulk line. Let's see. Remember how I said you want to have one strip going all the way down. So you're just gonna So now we're gonna do the caulking part. So what you're gonna do, you're gonna run your caulking. Make sure it's sealed good. You just can do a line right on the edge of the tape. Like so. And then you wanna rub. You wanna rub it into the tape so that it fills the texture. And this is what's gonna prevent that paint from seeping through, is we're filling those little texture gaps. And you wanna pull off all that caulking. You don't want it to stay in there. You wanna make sure you're taking it all off. You don't wanna leave a bunch of thick caulking on there. You wanna take as much of it off as possible. And put it on, wipe it on your rag. You can always go both ways with your finger, because you go one way and it might fill in the gap that way, but it won't get it coming back the other way. So you want to come both ways, always when caulking. Even when you're just doing regular caulking, you want to make sure to do that, because you're going to pull the tape while it's still wet. So you want to paint this heavy and fast, because by the way, I'm using 30-minute fast dry caulking, and it dries faster than that. So you're gonna wanna put it on heavy, because your brush can actually pull the caulking out of there if it doesn't have enough paint on it. You wanna have enough paint on your brush that your paintbrush will glide right over that wet caulking. So let's see, I'm gonna put it on real heavy. Now for the great reveal. Watch this. Look how sharp this line is going to be. Going to blow your mind. Observe. I'm going to pull the tape away. I'm going to pull the edge part, the edge that was on the paint. Pull that and pull it and away. Look how sharp that is. It's ridiculous. So I just got done rolling out all the body walls, which I didn't show you, but I'm gonna show you the rolling technique whenever I do this accent wall, just because there's a little more wall room to show the technique. So I did this first so that this could be mostly dry, this other paint, so that I can paint my line right into it. So first I'm gonna saturate my brush. It's like a straight up brown that we're doing here. Work it into my brush, get the brush nice. So I have to come back and fix that right there whenever the linen color dries. This lighter color right here. The rest should be dry enough, so I should be able to go along this part of it pretty easily. Just gonna short that line is like, well, not up there, but you see everywhere else. How incredible my skills are. It's incredible. How does he do it? Well, here's practice. Booyah. Oh, wait, right here. Oh, yeah. Whew. That is a sharp line. No tape. Look how sharp that is. Whack. A lot of guys would be afraid to get right up to a white ceiling. This dark paint. Not me though. Not me. In a way, it's kind of like a dance. Breathing is important. It's very important. finish cutting the rest of all this in right here. And then I'll finish cutting this in, and then I'll show you how to do the back roll, how to roll it. Okay, so now we're gonna roll out this wall. This is called your back rolling technique. Like I said, I got this sheepskin roller nap, the pretty handle. It's nice, I'm kind of in a closed space right here. There's a couch, so they make these nice little mini poles, good for bathrooms, closets, situations like this where you're kind of cramped. So first thing you want to do, always kind of know 4 lines is going to be about this big. So what I like to do is put my bucket where I think, that 4th line is going to end. So it's right next to me, so I'm not walking everywhere to go find the paint. And then you got to saturate your roller. So you're going to do that on this first line here. Get our roller nice and saturated. Nice and filled up with paint. What I'm doing, I'm just rolling right down the grid, and right as I get to the very top of the surface of the paint, the roller kind of taps it, and then I come up. And I do that about 3 times. 1, 2, 3. And then I roll onto the grid a little bit. And that way I can gauge exactly how much paint is on my roller every time, so I don't have uneven lines, like it's thick here and not thick here and then thick here. You don't want that. You want it to be consistent. Every roll have the same amount of paint on it. And you can do that by how many times you tap the top of the surface. So if you do 3 times, it's going to have more than 2 times. If you hit the surface of the paint, 4 times, then you're going to have quite a bit of paint on your roller. So I'm going to go 1, 2, 3. You can probably even hear it. So I can hear it when it hits the surface. So I know it's a hit. And you go up and down a few times to make sure you're filling in all the texture. So that's 3 lines right there. So now I got 3 lines side by side. So 4th line. Up and down. Okay, now here's the most important part. So this is called back rolling. You're gonna come up at a slight angle and then straight down. Up at a slight angle, straight down. Up at a slight angle, straight down. Up at a slight angle, straight down. And then it's like butter. There's gonna be no holidays, there's no roller lines. It's solid, it's thick. And since this paint dries so fast, by the time I get these 4 lines, they're already tacked up, which means it's already kind of dry. So when I do that back roll, it's actually putting paint right back over it. So it's not just smearing around the same paint, it's layering on another thing of paint. So it's like 2 or 3 coats all done in one pass. And it's crazy to me how many painters still don't know how to do this. Now right here, it's gonna get a little more crazy because now this isn't just like a blank wall. We have this window in the way, so that's where it gets a little different. But yeah, that's basically how you do your back roll. It's probably one of the most effective techniques that I use, saving time. Like I said, this back roll technique does not work if you don't have the right paint, if you don't have the right tools, and you don't know how to do the back roll technique. So, oh, hey, there you are. I'm just doing the final touches on this room. Face plates are the last thing. We're all finished up here. All right, so we're all wrapped up here. Taught you how to do accent walls, taught you how to back roll, taught you how to freehand cut, and I taught you how to do a back caulk line. And I also taught you the most important thing of all, the PTT. Right there. Don't ever forget it. Ever, if you're painting. Anyways, that's it for Flying Bees Painting. And if there's something inside of you telling you need to paint, then by God, you paint. That's gonna be too good. Oh, for those of you who said I didn't use a drop cloth, by the way, this carpet's being replaced. That's why I didn't use a drop cloth, so yeah, thought I missed something.